WhiskyJason here, whiskey from the viewpoint of an American over here in Germany, often reviewing rare and exotic whiskeys. Today I have a single cask edition for Germany, Corry Bonders Edition number 7, 7 years old. Originally matured in a ex-bourbon cask from Kentucky, and then it received a 19-month finish in a Palo Cortado sherry cask with the number 384. So this costs over here in Germany, it's a 0.7 liter, 700 milliliter bottle, 74 euros 90 cents. And Chapelgate Whiskey, Louise McEwen is behind this whiskey, and Whiskybase number 248602. There were a total of 336 bottles, and it has a alcohol ABV of 57.95%. 57.95, not 9. Now, that's a lot of transparency, to be very honest. And so I like that. Single cask, 7 years, cask strength, 10 euros per year. So we're at 70 some euros, 74.90. Absolutely where we should be with the price at the moment. All right. So would I love to have it 59.90? Of course. But to be very honest, that's not going to happen anytime soon. Palo Cortado is the broken twig or the broken branch. So you start off with Palomino white wine, basically as a sherry. There's a yeast layer on top of it called flor. Magically, mysteriously, this layer of yeast dies off, and then you have an oxidating time afterwards. Very, very similar to Amontillado. That happens that doesn't happen naturally, but on purpose. And by Palo Cortado, that I'm going to say the words used to happen magically, mysteriously, and we never knew why. There are so many Palo Cortado casks in the world at the moment, and this was such a rare type of sherry. I think they're doing it on purpose. So, I like Palo Cortado. I really do. I get figs, I get dates, I get prunes. It's a very, very nice. I like Palo Cortado better than I do Oloroso. My ranking of the sherries are usually Muscatel at the very, very top. Then often PX. PX makes everything better. Palo Cortado. After that, we have our Oloroso. Then I often have my Amontillado. And then I have my Fino, and in between it is the Manzanilla. Probably Manzanilla is below Fino, all right? So those are the different types of sherries that we have. If you've never done a sherry tasting, please do. If you've never tried what happens with whiskey with the different types of sherries, for example, the Wood series at the moment from Glenallachie, they have 3 different types, and it's amazing how good they are and how the different types of sherry shine through the whiskeys, so you can get a good grasp of what's actually happening there. So Corry, Louise, back then, she didn't want to start her own distillery, never had a plan. She'd worked in the industry, spirits industry, for some while, and she wanted to come back to Ireland and her family farm. She did not want to become a farmer, and so she decided to become a whiskey bonder. Now, poutine is not the same as moonshine. Now, poutine is a distillate made in Ireland that usually is not matured in wood and is sold as something which illegal. Moonshine is usually something sold that was illegal and made in the woods. They're not the same. And exactly the same thing is a bonder in Ireland is not the same as an independent bottler in Scotland. Yes, they sound like they're the same. They are doing basically the same things, but they're not. All right, I hope I confused you enough here. All right, a bonder in this case, Louise actually just bought casks, brought her over to farm, had her own warehouse built, and she can actually blend together as she wants, or then recast them, and then like this. All right, so this is basically they had a 5-year-old whiskey, and for another 19 months, 5+ year-old whiskey. I'm going to guess Great Northern, but it could be West Cork. I don't think it's Cooley. I don't think it's anyone else. It is a single malt, so single is one single distillery. And then she re-racked it into a, I'm going to guess, a very, very fresh Palo Cortado sherry cask, because it really, really, really gives off a lot of great, great vibes. What am I going to compare it to? I don't know if you've ever seen this bottle or not. This is the 7-year-old Whistler. So when I started my whiskey journey about 8 years ago, about 6 years ago, we're talking about 2018-ish, this was the hit over here in Germany, at least. I went through quite a few of these bottles, sampling, using them for tasting, enjoying them myself. This is a undisclosed distillery, Cooley. This is this is single malt, and it's natural cask strength at 59%, and this has a Oloroso sherry finish on it. Not extreme finish, but a nice finish. This bottle is still available over in Germany for 70 euros. I think I paid back then 45. All right, so they're not being produced anymore. Bowen is a wonderful example of a distillery that said, hey, all our source whiskey is going to be called the Whistler. Our own whiskey is going to be called Bowen. So we can always separate source from their own whiskey. And they're starting to put their own whiskey out on the market now, finally 2024. And that distillery, they're doing a lot of things right at Bowen up there between Belfast and Dublin. Or I should have said between Dublin and Belfast, or between Dublin and Dundalk. Beautiful, beautiful thing. So 74 euros at the moment, 69.90, 57.59, 57.95. Oloroso sherry finish, Palo Cortado sherry finish. This has figs. This has dates. This has prunes. This is so good on the nose. This is like a solid B for the nosing. I really, really like this. Sometimes would you like a little bit of milk with your coffee? And sometimes you have a milk coffee and you want a little bit of coffee with your milk. And this is the same. Do you want a little bit of whiskey with your Palo Cortado? The Palo Cortado is so dominant. I like here. Over here, the sherry is these are reused sherry casks. Very subtle, but very, very, this brings back some memories. This was a safe place for me for Irish whiskey for a few years. This was something I really enjoyed, and really have recommended many people to go out and find a bottle. I have one bottle left bunkered someplace, and this is, I've been savoring this. All right, so let's try it. 57.95%. German exclusive, 336 bottles, Irish minus whiskeys, EYS.de, DE Deutschland, Germany. She's still Mareike Spitzer, the sponsor of our Irish Whiskey podcast, the only German language Irish whiskey podcast in the world. She is the only sponsor we have on there. And I've worked with her now for 8 years. So she's doing some very, very good stuff. And this is her German exclusive bottling. Rich, viscous. That Palo Cortado sherry really, really shines through. Yeah, dates, figs, prunes, dark, rich, caramel, even a tiny little bit of mocha is in there. Leather, vanilla, a tad little bit of a berry, like a raspberries going on in there, but rich, dark chocolate. Not the milk chocolate, not the white chocolate, like the 90% chocolate. That's 80%, 70%. That's what I'm getting here. This is very, very good. Now, it has a little bit of heat. 7 years are good, but the 57.95% has some heat there. So I put a little bit of water in this. In my German video, I put too much water in it. Don't dilute it down to 50%. Dilute it down to like 45%-ish. Just a few drops, and then try this. Hmm. That's for me the sweet spot. And it actually puts out a little bit more of a sweet vibe instead of just the the vibes that were there of the figs, of the dates, of the prunes, of the dark chocolate. It activates a tiny little bit of a molasses type of um, dark syrup moment. Um, Good. B minus, definite. Value for money. Now, this is a single cask. This is cask strength. This is 7 years, 10 euros per year, 74, 90. I'm still going to give it a C to C minus for value for money. Why? Well, there's two reasons for that. The first reason, I can get this for 69.90. Even though the 59% is more of the alcohol, it's much better integrated. Now, there is a big elephant in the room that I have not talked about yet, and that's this Redbreast. All right, I can get the Redbreast over here in Germany for about the same price. So I just Googled 68 euros, 71 euros, 74 euros. Let's say they're the same. All right. Now, if you are fairly new to Irish whiskey, if you're new to cask strength Irish whiskey with an age statement, and you haven't tried Redbreast cask strength, do that first. This is so delicious. Every single time I pour a glass and every single time I drink this, I actually get this wow moment at the end. This is a somewhat older bottle. This is B121, so this is 3 years of age. This is 56.3%. The bottle is almost empty. I paid less than 70 euros for this. This is 75, and it's cask strength. All right, so I have 56.3%. Over here, I have 57.9. So we're about the same league. 12 years, 7, 7. And then I swallow, and I get this explosion of wonderful pot still. This is single malt. This is single malt. This is single pot still. Unmalted barley, at least 30%, at least 30% malted barley. And can have up to 5% of other grains, which it does not. This is so good. And so my recommendation, if you have not tried the Redbreast 12 cask strength, do it now. Don't wait. This is fabulous. This might change your life and introduce you to Irish whiskey you've never ever thought that could be so good. Now, if you have this at home and say, Jason, I'm looking for something a little bit different, and the mixture of bourbon, standard Oloroso sherry cask here is just fine, but I want something different, Palo Cortado is your next best friend. If you like fig Newtons, if you like the dates and a little bit of a dark, rich, raisiny moment in your whiskey, this will tickle your fancy. This is so good. And if you have maybe an option to ever find a Whistler 7-year-old in cask strength 95%, just buy it. Believe me, it's good, but I don't think you're going to find it anytime soon. Even on the auction side, I've been watching them now for the last couple of years. I always look at three things on every auction site I go on: all the American whiskeys, all the Irish whiskeys, and for the last half a year or so, I've been actually dabbling in the Japanese whiskeys and finding interesting bargains every once in a while. So you have to be careful, but do your research first. So 1, 2, 3. But yet, this is still a B minus whiskey, which shows how great they are. Value for money, C to C minus. My question of the day is, what is your favorite Irish whiskey in cask strength with an age statement? I just eliminated 90% of all Irish whiskey, if not more. Age stated cask strength Irish whiskey. Ireland doesn't put out very much cask strength whiskey. The excise tax, which is the alcohol tax, is so high, 4 times higher than basically in Germany. So if you're going to pay on 59% excise tax, in Germany, you're going to be paying for this bottle here, I'm just going to say number 7 euros. For the same bottle in Ireland, you're going to be paying almost 29 euros. That's a big difference. And that's just in the tax that goes on. Then you have sales tax on top of that. You have the margins for the different distributors and for the importers and all this and so on. That's just the tax that goes to the government per bottle. And that's how big a difference it is between Germany and Ireland. And therefore, not many people in Ireland make cask strength whiskey for us. But hey, for the export market, please do. Thank you very much for watching, liking, and subscribing, telling others. And don't forget to write down your favorite Irish whiskey with an age statement in cask strength. Bye-bye.